All right, folks, welcome back. It's time for the Malzberg Panel. You know it, you love it. And joining us on the panel at this hour, we're going to have with us right now, we say hello to Kevin Jackson, radio host, author of The Big Black Lie, and our friend Grace Marie Turner. Not that Kevin isn't our friend. Grace Marie Turner, who, of course, is the founder of the Galen Institute. Hello, Grace Marie, and hello, Kevin.
It's so nice to be with you virtually. Enjoyed being with you in person last week, Steve, in the studio.
Yeah, it was so good to see you up here last week. All right, guys, just a little while ago, spoke to Larry Kudlow, and he penned a piece, Immigration Reform is pro-growth and pro-GOP. Grace Marie, I just don't get it. And I respect the heck out of Larry Kudlow, and he respected the points I brought up, and I told him I respected the points he brought up. So this is not about attacking Larry Kudlow, but to think that the Republican base, under the guise of this big tent, will come out, whether the big tent is under immigration reform, or whether the big tent includes traditional gay marriage or right to pro-abortion people or whatever they call themselves. I just see you alienating the entire base of the Republican/Conservative Party, and they'll stay home.
Well, unfortunately, I think that Senator Marco Rubio found that out for himself, that he really did think, and I think he correctly could have been, a real leader in trying to move forward with immigration reform, and he absolutely got slapped down, and his base is very upset with him. But the fact of the matter is, I was a reporter for the San Diego Union about 30 years ago, and immigration reform was a huge issue then. We now have at least twice as many illegal immigrants in the country today as we did then. And as long as, and Larry's right, as long as we just continue to ignore this problem, it's going to get worse. We've got to have sensible solutions. It is very, very much of a lightning rod issue, but we've got to find some way to advance and move forward, because that is really a fundamental building block of our society, is to have immigrants and to make sure that they're assimilated into our economy.
Well, we have a form of immigration reform, and Barack Obama just showed that there are 68,000 people that he took out of prisons and put back into the society at large, and essentially said, I'm not doing anything about it. And he'd done it before. Look, I get that we need to address immigration as a society, but what we should address first are the laws of our land that says you got to get in line with everybody else. And look, it's a broken record to say we need to start addressing things from the standpoint of the legal immigrants that are coming into the country. But isn't that exactly the way it should be? We are fighting these same battles over and over using the same tactics as problems exacerbate. And what that means when problems exacerbate, liberals are winning. You just said it, Grace Marie, there's almost double the number when we don't address it. So who's winning? They're getting driver's licenses in this country. They're being allowed to not have, there's no voter ID requirements, and that's the next step. So who's winning the immigration battle?
Well, and Kevin, I think also, even if Congress were to go through the incredibly difficult, painful process of getting legislation through, who on earth believes that the president would pay any attention to that legislation? He would just go rewrite the law himself. So there's a lack of trust that the administration can actually would implement the legislation that Congress passed. I think that's as much of a stumbling block as anything right now.
Well, it is, and I think one of the other things that we have to consider is how do we force his hand, and how do we get the idea of immigration the way the liberals see it off the table? And the answer is being dropped in our laps. When you ask the average black person, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the inner city black person who happens to be the most unemployed person in America, you can't wage a good discussion about why we're going to allow 20 million other people to come in and get our jobs. They called it the victimless crime. But in fact, there's a ton of crime associated with illegal immigrants. I'm not saying there's more of a criminal element than there was with anybody else in America, but I do believe that the immigrant of today, the illegal immigrant, and I don't want to call him an immigrant, the trespasser, is a lot more likely to be a criminal than it was in the past. People used to stow away to get over here because America was a great place to come and you were here for the opportunity. Now you're here to essentially pillage the society more than you are to contribute to it.
Well, there also are huge demands for workers, especially in science and mathematics, that are just not coming out of our schools. And there's an important contribution that immigrants do make to this society, and I think that really has to be an important reason to move forward with a sensible conversation.
Well, I certainly don't disagree with that, but I think that most of that's handled through the various visas that you can get to fulfill that. And let's face it, we've got international programs for schools that allow their students to come over here, our students to go over there. They can matriculate into this society. If you've got a specialty that you need a Chinese kid for whatever reason, because there's not a student, which is more of a condemnation of the education system than anything, you can go get that kid and bring them over, bring them into your company. There are visa types that allow for that. The problem that we're talking about, and I think that part of immigration is easy to legislate. The part we're talking about is where you've got coyotes bringing people over illegally through Mexico, and these are many people coming up through Central America. You got people that have built elaborate tunnels into Texas and Arizona and various other states in order to sneak people into this country illegally with no intent of contributing.
And here's the deal. The Mexican government provides instructions for these people on how to do just what you said and how to take advantage of our system here and get money and get things for free. They openly do it. They do it in our face, and at the same time, they're holding our Marine in a cell and he's chained to his bed for nothing. And this government of ours doesn't give a rat's behind about him. I mean, the whole thing just makes me sick, but that's a little beyond the immigration debate. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk more. Remember, Mark Cuban made some remarks, as I said at the top of the show, during the Donald Sterling affair. Well, they seem to be affecting him right now. We're going to talk about all that. But I want to know, God, what you think about what we're talking about, folks. Let us know. Follow us on Twitter @NewsmaxTV. Email connect@newsmaxtv.com. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/